All right, do you hear me now? Is it recording? Thank you. We're glad to have everybody here. We appreciate every one of you. We're going to begin. We're going to ask Bill Dees if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We've already blessed the food and blessed the efforts over this night, and so let's do that and we'll begin. Bill? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of the three methodologies. If you have questions at that time, that's great. And then we're going to turn the time over to Patricia Gary, and she's going to run the rest of the show, and I'm going to sit in the back. We can answer questions. We've got, just so you know, we've got Alex Riley again. He'll talk at the end of the meeting, share with us, talking about the committees. We've got Christy Trevathan here with us. Everybody knows her or seen some signs of hers in the yards. Bill Dees, part of our board. Thank you. And then we have our staff. I've got Erica Mitchell back there. We appreciate her always being here with us. Yeah. Matthew Jones and Matt Munslinger. They're here to help us if we have to break into any other groups. And then we have Stefan Franke, who just walked in the door. Appreciate him being here with us. So, very quickly, if you want to turn, grab, and go follow me with this handout. This is a copy of the presentation that I'm going to go over very quickly, or as slowly as you would like. Last meeting we had three possibilities. The first one we talked about was a fixed cost based on electric meter classification. Now with that, if you look at the first one, you'll see this is what we have. We have three classifications. We have residential, we have commercial, we have industrial. We also know there's people that are in our community that we do not serve. There are parcels, and there's approximately 100 of them. It actually ended up being right at that number. If we take and break it down, what we discussed is that if we were to charge each residential $16, each commercial $1,680, that's per year. For the residential, that's $192 per year. And industrial, $450 per meter per month, or $5,400 per year. It ends up being, and each non-metered, anything non-metered, that's going to be charged a residential fee. With that, the total would be approximately $3.7 million. We've had the discussion. We've already said that we're not going to go after the not-for-profits. And that was one of the decisions we made, I believe, 2 meetings ago. So with that, we recognize that approximately 20% of that will not be collected. And so we take, and to the right, is where we took that out, and we're at $3 million. I will tell you that we're still, the board is adequate with that. We'll do the best we can. If we can get more, great, but right now, we'll get what we get done with that amount. We believe it would be a good start.
Does the non-metered include lots in town that are just sitting empty?
Yes. Yes. Now, turn to the next page, next slide. What I also talked about was taking those three classifications, the residential, commercial, and industrial, and breaking them down even further. We looked at the residential, and if we said small, medium, large, we would up or down that one probably by $1 or so per. And to do that with all 7,476 of them becomes pretty onerous. So we just said, let's leave that alone. One of the other things that I'm going to warn you about, I'll get to it. Second up is commercial. Now what happens is on the commercial classification, you do have the downtown mom and pop commercial building that has a commercial meter. You also have a Lowe's and a Aldi, Aldi. We've got some of those others that are larger. So inside of that commercial classification, there's a very large differential from those people that are the smaller size using 50 to 60 kWh a month versus those that are using 60,000 kWh per month. I sat down with Emily Dexheimer. She is our billing clerk, our accounts clerk. And with that, and that's not the right title, I apologize to her, we'll get it right. We've got it into three groups. One is from 0 to 66,000 kWh, 6,000 to 21,600, then 21,600 or greater. Now, these numbers are our suggestion, okay? With that smaller, we're still looking at charging the smaller one $140 per month, or it would work out to $1,680 a year. For that middle size, the 6,000 to 21,000, we'd go up to $180 a month or to $2,160 a year. And then the larger go up to $220 to $2,640 per year per meter. On this one, yes. The one on your, take a look at the one on here.
Yeah.
This one has been corrected.
Yeah, but the math at the end is not right.
Oh, the multiplication not
Yes.
out?
988 times 1,600 is well over $1 million.
Okay,
The numbers at the final line is from your old one, but the front numbers are from your new one.
gotcha. Thank you. We will pull up, I'll pull up an Excel here in a minute, and we'll look at what that change does. Then we look at the industrial. And the industrial, we already break it down between small industrial and large industrial. Now, what we have there is that there's 88 industrial meters and 3 large industrial. Now you can kind of guess who the large industrial is. And Jay's sitting right here. But with that, you can see what we propose is going from $400 per meter for the regular industrial meter to $550 per month, which works out to be $4,800 per year for a regular industrial, $6,600 per year for the large industrial meter. Okay. Keep going.
Okay. My question is like Underwood, you got that down to 3 customers, but they have several meters.
They have a total of 7.
7 meters, and they have.
So 3 of those would be the large, and then
Okay.
the other 4 would
Or
be
in
the smaller
other
one.
section. So
So we're going to have to do, for him to do the math on that,
Okay.
he's going to have to get 4 of the regular, 3 of the large. That would,
Okay. So they encompass all 3 of the large end.
they would.
Okay.
So, any questions on that? Yes.
I want to understand non-metered. Is that vacant lots, commercial, residential, whatever? And how about properties not served but that aren't vacant? Do they look like a vacant lot or a vacant property?
Will you turn on your meter? I'm sorry, meter. Microphone. Please turn on your microphone when you're talking.
We have the issue of vacant lots, and then we have the issue of that would take in houses that are currently not being served. That 100 number looks really low for what I imagined in the city of Hannibal.
That's who we would include. So we would include, if there is no electric meter there, if it's because it's been demolished, if it's because it's for whatever reason, if they've taken that meter out, if it's outside of this, if it is in an area that's not served by us and it's an empty lot, if there is no electric meter and it is a parcel lot, it will be charged as a single residential unit.
Okay, that doesn't also include any lots that are zoned commercial?
If there's no if there's
I
no,
understand that, but I'm talking about,
Correct.
in terms of the parcel and the.
that's right,
zoning.
no. If there, so on this methodology, we're looking at electric meters as held by the Board of Public Works.
Well, that's a distinction. Sometimes, you go by and you see a lot zoned commercial, 6.3 acres or whatever. Doesn't have a meter on it, but the classification puts it almost the same as a Lowe's or a Walmart or anybody else.
You got
because
it.
of their
But let's look,
parcel.
so what you're talking about is methodology number 3.
That's what
And we'll get to
okay.
it. So that's correct, but we've got to keep that in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
don't remember us talking about charging non-metered. We talked about that?
Yeah, we did.
yeah, we did.
Didn't that include Ross County customers too?
Yes.
Yeah, that
They're,
would be.
they're not our meter.
Rawls County.
If they're not, so again, what we're going to do is we're going to take the file, which is our file of our electric meters, and based on that classification, industrial, commercial, residential, we take and look at every single parcel inside the city limits, and we assign it. And if it doesn't have a meter, it's an empty lot or an empty parcel, no meter.
Or not getting any
Even if
services?
it's electricity from somebody else inside our city limits,
Okay,
this is the methodology we use.
okay.
Okay? Okay, we can come back to those questions. What's that?
Which is the 192.
Yes,
192 a year, yes.
yes. Okay? All right, let's go to the next slide. This is methodology number 2. Impervious surface. And what we're looking at, again, now clear your mind, here comes the second one. We look at the amount of impervious surface. If you have a roof, if you have a garage, if you have a driveway, if you have a walkway, we're going to take a aerial view of that. We measure that, and then we count up the number of square feet of impervious surface. In other words, you can't have water seep in there. We're going to take and divide that by 500. And for every 500 block, let's go to the next slide. We're going to be charging per 500 is $38.32.
On that, Darren, how often are you gonna do that? Is that gonna be done every year?
It would be done annually. So we've got two. So to begin with, we're going to go with Black and Veatch. Black and Veatch has already got it set up to where they can go in. It's still going to cost us money, but they're going to take and figure that out the first year. What we've got to do is determine how do we keep up on the growth and change of that. So we're going to have to we can go back and look at city records for permits. And if there's a garage that's put on or a garage that's torn off, or if there's an outbuilding that's built or an outbuilding that's destroyed, we will probably have someone hired who's part of that, whose job it'll be to keep up on
Yes,
that.
that's what I was gonna get at. There's gonna be a cost every year for that.
There's a cost every year for that. Yep, and it's onerous. Okay, just saying, and for us to be able to do that. The other thing that comes up is that everybody's gonna come and say, well, you got mine measured wrong. We understand that's gonna happen the first year, 2 years, 3 years probably. We accept that, but again, your point is well made that that's somewhat onerous. But yes, we're gonna have to keep up with that and do it every year. Any questions on that methodology?
This is without a cap, though, on area, right?
That is correct. That is correct. Okay, let's go to the next one. Marty, this is yours. This is your question. So this is, if you'll look at, this is we would be using county files. We would look at the county zoning classifications. Inside of our community and the city, there are ag dwellings, ag with dwellings, that's the top one, ag land, so nothing built on it, but just simply ag land. There's commercial, there's exempt, there's other, there's residential. And we would look at taxing each one of those based on a given number. So we would look at ag dwelling, there's 21 parcels. We would look at $122 per parcel per month, $1,464 per year. Ag land, there's 70 of them, $120, $1,440 per year. There's commercial. Now, when we look at commercial, there's 300 of them on their records. Again, this is how it is zoned. And so that's, whoever has that zoning would pay. We have, and again, those numbers, if this is what you choose, we can move those up and down. But that's, each one would be $3,600 a year. And then finally, residential, we're back at that $16 per month or $192 a year. And they have 6,854 of those. Now, please recognize those numbers will be different. Part of that is because some of the homes and some of the places we have multiple meters. So again, if there's someone on the first methodology, based on our electric meters, every meter is going to be charged. And there's some people that have 2 meters on their lot. So be aware of that. Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay.
What if you're,
Well, I'm sorry, it talks on this thing about not having a classification for industrial zoning. Is that included in, is there's,
Nope.
and we
When I
excluded
say-
those, why?
Because that's their zoning. So, I'm going to point right at Jay here. He's a big guy, he can take it. On that one, he would have, I think you have 1, maybe 2 parcels over there. You've got 3 parcels, zoned commercial. So far as county code zoning goes, he's got 3 commercial parcels.
But they would be, the rate would be under the commercial rate, not a
Yep.
special rate for industrial use.
Correct. There is no industrial.
There's
when it
nothing in
comes.
the county, okay.
There is no industrial rate in the county.
So what happens if this group chooses this and then the voters approve this and then the county creates a new zoning classification?
I would say, because, and I'm going to answer you, then I'm going to tell you I don't know because Mr. Riley will. What we're going to do, what we pass by law is where it stays. And if they came up with a different, we would have to go back to the voters to get it changed by vote if they added a new zone.
See, and I understand Stefan's question because Jay and his company could turn around and request an industrial zoning for their property or somebody else in that regard, and all of a sudden they're off the chart.
Yep.
They're off the hook under this rate. So I agree that, is there any way we can build into this a stipulation if the zoning's changed, that the rates would be adjusted?
I think you can do just about anything you want, but boy, you start. So when we come up with our one consensus tonight, we're going to have to write the language of what's going to be presented to the people for that vote. And that's going to have to be how complex, how much of that's going to be. We've got to,
Yeah, and I'm not trying to muddy the water, but I'm just all of a sudden,
Great question.
I can see where some businesses that would qualify could very easily appeal to the county for a rezoning change on their parcel, and all of a sudden, General Mills is off the hook.
You bet.
Wawa's off the hook.
Are you saying that industrial zone won't have a charge at all?
There is no zone.
There is no.
There is no zone.
Because this is
Killer
county
thing.
zone.
Oh, their
No.
county doesn't
Every-
have industrial.
So every piece of property in the city limits is covered by a county zone.
Okay.
And these are the county zones as it stands today. And so what Marty's saying is if they were to come up with a new zone called industrial and people jumped into that, then they would avoid paying this stormwater tax. And he's saying, can we shut the door on that possibility? And I'm saying, we
should.
probably can, but that's just adds, a couple more layers of our vote to the people.
Well, I'm just saying, if this has no cap, and then we have to go back and redo this again because the zoning changes come along, then we're into a second dog fight with a tired dog. Because we've already fought that battle.
You got it. All right, so any questions on that one? I think, Bob,
Just one more, multifamily residential, is that I seem to remember that classification. But we do not have a multifamily residential?
no,
Not at the county level.
not the county.
It's only at the city level.
City.
Are we limited to doing it on the county classification? Can we not use the city classification that would include the industrial based on this?
We have not,
Parcel?
that's not one that we brought up and looked at,
Okay.
and so. We probably could have and should have, but at this point in time,
Yeah.
it's all right.
Let's move forward.
So those are the three. Let's go to the next page.
Okay.
And this is the impact comparison. In other words, if you'll look here, and I would ask you on your paper if you want, go ahead and write A, B, and C. The first one is your flat tax rate per electric meter. As it is, we take the residential, commercial, industrial, and agricultural here. And we look at what would a small home, what's the impact of a small, medium, and large? Again, small, medium, and large. They're probably small in front of you. Are you on the same page? Impact comparison. And this is simply to look and see what were the impact on each of those groups. If you look at the residential, for the annual tax rate, every single one of them, small, medium, large, they're all going to be paying $192 a year. Okay? That's this column. Annually, if we look at the impervious surface, this is where we figure out your smaller residential will be at $91 per year. The medium is $220 a year, and the larger homes are $344 a year. Now, this varies. I'm still basing it off of what we considered 1,200 square feet, 3,000 square feet, 4,500 square feet.
Of impervious area,
Yes,
okay.
yes. And so you have to, again, that's one where if you have a large home, plus you have an outbuilding, plus you've got a shed for your lawnmower, each one of those roofs will be added to that impervious surface. Okay? Yes?
Does it, or not? So like if it's way over the large, how do you figure it?
All I'm saying is, so
So if it's like 10,000 square feet.
you take that number, how many square feet you come
Oh,
up with,
500, okay, yeah.
divide it by 500,
Every-
multiply it by $38.32.
Okay.
But that's exactly what we've going to have to teach people.
Yeah, that's.
If that's what
because
we
it's
choose.
very- Looks kind of sleight of hand, you know? It
Okay.
does.
And that's just guesstimates, correct? The
Yes.
numbers you have under option B is you're guesstimating that that's how much it would probably cost.
Yes.
A residential or commercial.
For that number of square feet. I mean, that's,
That would vary from a parcel to parcel, I'm sure.
yes, absolutely.
Why,
Very.
I don't think there'd be hardly anybody at the 1,200.
Not very many.
Everybody's gonna be large and above, really,
Yeah, not very many.
yeah.
So, same thing, commercial. And again, we're guessing at square feet. I think we've got, for a small, 2,000 square feet, medium, 10,000, large, 100,000. Impacts, $1,680 for that small, $2,160 for the medium, $2,640. Got to go to the next line, which is the impervious. You go from 153, much less, 766, still less, to 7,640, 664. Man, if I could read, that'd be great. Much larger. And then we go to the county tax rate, flat rate, 3,600. Industrial, same thing. We start looking at 10,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet, 1 million square feet, You go from the annual tax, the flat tax, 4,800, 6,600, 6,600. And then if we look at the impervious, you go from 766 to 7,600 to 76,000. And then agricultural, you can see how the effect is on that. Any questions? I am now going to sit down and be quiet. I will still be, we're here to help out. If you go to the next page on considerations, I'm going to turn the time over to Patricia Gary, and she's going to help get us to consensus.
Did you have a calculator you're gonna run through for us before sat down, or were you planning on doing that at the end?
You mean on how to do the consideration?
I thought you had that on there.
So here is, let's go to the next one. Considerations. I'm sorry, I think it's better on your paper you've got here. We're going to ask you to take a look at A, B, and C. You've got that on the left-hand column. So here's your flat tax per meter. Everybody understands what that one is. That's off of our electric meter. Second one, impervious surface. And the third one is the flat tax per county parcel. Everybody's got that clear in your mind? No questions? Bob?
I'm gonna back you up just a little bit.
Okay?
When we look at the meter tax, I have a building downtown, small commercial building in Main Street.
Yes.
Broadway. And I also have 2 apartments upstairs that the individual apartment owners have chose, or I as the owner have said, you may get your own meter for your apartment, go sign up for it. I have my commercial meter downstairs. I have 2 other meters on that commercial property, but they are, from my perspective, should be classified as residential meters on that rental property. And I don't think we've really discussed that. Are those residential meters or are those commercial? If they're commercial meters, you just raised the apartment tenants month, $100 a month.
Yep.
If they're residential meters, which I think they should be, then we get them just like any other house in town.
Until they come back and change that from a commercial meter to a residential meter and meet our the requirements per the BPW, what we have that classified as is what's going to stick. In other words, you've got your example is great, perfect example. So I've got 3 meters. If all 3 are commercial, I'm charging each one of those a commercial rate, which is the amount. If you come back and it meets the qualifications for a residential, then we will change it to a residential and charge that residential rate. But until they make that change, it's a commercial, meter.
That option is available today.
Where'd Matthew go? Where'd Matt go? Is that available today?
In a hurry, he was.
Like, where do you look up what's
do you know if they're all
qualified?
3?
Or could
Do
readily,
they have the ability to change that?
Yes,
So long as they meet our requirements.
But again, it all depends on, in those 2 residential situations, are those 2 meters for your apartments in the tenant's name?
well, that's what I mean, they would be, I'm talking about having them in the tenant's name.
Then
Those are the ones.
And then it would.
If the owner of the building signs up, he's signing up for 3 commercial meters.
That's correct. So
Correct.
you would have 1 commercial 3-phase meter, you would have 2 commercial single-phase meters, but they would
Okay.
still be classified as commercial. In most of the instances, if I remember correctly, they are listed as residential though in our system.
So if it's in our system, what it is classified on our system, that's what they're going to be billed.
Yeah.
And if they want to come back and make the changes, put it in, whatever they've got to do to meet the requirements to become a residential meter, they're welcome to do that. And then once that's changed, that's what it begins. The other thing I will tell you is that we're looking at, again, technicality. We're going to make sure that on one day, such as October 1 of 2023, this is the day that this is the rate that you're going to be charged. After that date, if it changes from residential to industrial, we're charging at that date the classification that it was on that date. And then 12 months later, we're gonna do it again, because there's things that are changing and moving and flow. We've gotta keep it to that one date.
I think you need to give adequate notice to tenants that have those meters.
You bet. Stefan, you had a hand up?
Yeah. Aren't ease of explanation and understandable synonymous?
Okay. Pretty close. Our job is to explain it. How, to me, is impervious? I can explain it really good, I think. But is it understandable to those people? To me, there's a little, yeah, it can be the same thing, that's fine. Now, what we'd like you to do,
I'll go over that.
you'll go over that? You'll give them the numbering?
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought we had a calculator that you were going to work with them on.
It's gonna be,
It'll be later.
yeah, well,
Okay, all right.
I do have, so the calculator so far is coming up with the impervious surface. It's simply an Excel, I've got an Excel spreadsheet that if you give me the length and height, length and width of roof, length and width of everything on your property, we can plug it in and it kicks it out exactly what it's gonna be. It's simply a calculator.
Google Earth does well too.
Yes,
Yes.
pull it right off of there. You can measure stuff right with it and it's very, very accurate. All right, I'm gonna be quiet now.
And no, throughout the discussion here this evening, we have 3 subject matter experts. Darren is one of them. Who are the other 2 subject?
Matthew, raise your hand, and Matt, who just ran out.
Yeah, so if during the discussion you pull up that calculator or any other questions, we'll be able to go ahead and do that. Because this is going to be just a really rough meeting and I want you to like me, I'm gonna start you out with a cookie. Does nobody want a cookie?
Thank you.
Oh, all right, you don't want, I can see this is a non-bribe section here.
I've had my share already.
All right.
I'm at my sugar load
Yes,
also.
you can't
but
be
one
bribed.
more, what the heck? Low calorie anyway.
Now, does everyone who needs one, I guess I need to stand here, have one of these documents? And so the goal tonight is to pick A, B, or C for what we'll put on the ballot, as my understanding, which will be in April 2024. Is that correct? Cool. All right. What I thought we would do is just get started with the baseline vote. And Darren, I have a question for you. Would you like everybody in the room to place a vote? Would you just like the committee to place a vote?
Just the committee.
Okay.
Only the committee.
We're going to be using these throughout the evening, but we'll do our first baseline vote. Just put on here A, B, or C and fold it in half. And we'll see where everyone's choice is. We'll give you just a minute, kind of look through and see what your preference is just off the bat.
So,
Does everyone feel like they can make a selection of A, B, and C just where they're leaning right now? Yes.
there's 2 sections to A.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Which options are we talking about for A?
I think with A, there's one with non-exempt, exempt properties and non-exempt.
No,
And I,
there's
what is it?
multiple meter, or
Small,
energy
medium, and
users.
large.
A1, A2. How's that?
Okay.
A1, A2.
That'll,
A1 is simple. A2 has them broken out into multiple layers. As the
Okay.
commercial in 3.
small, medium, large.
Yes.
So So on the descriptions, the second and the third page have A1 and A2.
Which one's A2?
So it's a flat tax by electric meter, or it's a flat tax by electric meter classified as medium or large. And if you have a question before you want to place your first vote, raise your hand and one of the subject matter experts will help answer that.
Just want everybody to know that the math on the A2 is shy of about $1 million of what it'll actually bring in.
So it's
At the
3
20% or
That's
total?
before.
Before.
Yeah. I haven't really, I pulled it up, but I never kept it.
So the number is not 36,
So you're somewhere north of,
3,600,000?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, three.
You're saying
Three
it's
six.
4
It
6?
shouldn't, if you're gonna do an Excel on it, multiply your 988 times your 1,680. See what kind of number you come up with. I don't know if there's anybody doing that kind of stuff or
Here, I'll
not.
do it real quick.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
1,659,840. 566, it didn't look right to me,
1,659,840
Yeah,
right.
a little different than the 500,000. that's in it.
minus 566 and 60 equals 1,093,000.
I just wanted you to realize that last line mathematically is wrong.
Now, when you have finished, you can just fold it like this or whatever. You don't want people to see, and put it out in front of your name, and I'll pick them up when you're ready. Yeah. That's mine side.
Oh. Have two of them.
You're saying the total should be more like 4.6 million.
It'd be some, I think they're doing it back there.
4.728,024. That's the total, not the 20%. I'm figuring that here.
Yeah, but we can adjust that commercial rate up and down to make it more equitable.
So you vote either A1, A2,
I just want people to realize that
A1,
number's not
A2,
correct.
or B or C.
Details.
B's the impervious, C's the flat
There's more
tax,
to the impervious than what we
county
got
flat
here.
tax.
It gets you about, what, the
Didn't we have more
20%
to
reduction,
the impervious
3.7.
than what we have here?
Well, I only got one sheet too.
No, I
thought-
know, but I thought in the
Here you
past
go,
we
ma'am.
had talked about.
Do you want these, or I'm
Yeah,
sorry?
put it right in front of your
Classifications for
name.
They were gonna
impervious
put
and-
limits, but I guess they decided not to do that.
So we've got a couple
You
of
have the
people
number
who
on
are
your-
still
So if everybody
Underwood,
picks
or,
unsure.
general
one, we're done.
of what that would cost you.
What was going on in those ages?
Yeah.
What was the class number?
Is it within reason?
It's working. I think he's saying there should be.
For me, that's
So are they
more than
maximum?
A1,
No.
but it seems more fair, in my opinion.
Fine tune that.
That's the number you gotta worry about passing. Residential, 132 of them open pass.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
And easier to explain. And understand.
A lot of people that have taxes and they're.
He did, I thought he was gonna put them up there for us, but they're coming up, see.
At the end of the year.
There's the numbers on the board.
$192 and they're gonna.
There's your numbers, they
what
should
the
be
hell
accurate.
happened?
Yeah, I don't
It
know
just
how
jumped.
Did you just correct them?
Banks
I'm
would have
correcting them here on.
Okay.
I was gonna say, you had a higher number and then it jumped to low, it dropped another 500,000, so what happened?
County
Yeah,
tax
correct.
numbers will go higher by 100.
I come up with
But if you
4,728,024.
look at what your city taxes are, I know a lot of people in my neighborhood, their city taxes.
Did the
for
rate
their
change or
house
just the
is
math
that
at the
much
end?
more than that. So they're
Math.
gonna, in their
Just
mind,
the
they're
math.
doubling their
Yeah.
taxes.
It's a combination of two different spreadsheets we
just
got.
the city
One got changed on
portion of
numbers,
the
and one
taxes.
didn't get changed on the final number.
Like 200 and something or whatever, so.
Okay.
6864.
Well, they're making more money than they think.
What you see up there should be accurate. On the screen.
Change its significance.
So it only jumped 200,000?
Is that what you got, Jay?
What's that?
The final number only jumped 200,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's not the number Jay came up with. Jay came up with 4,000,007.
988 times 1680. 165. 1659840. Oh, you got 998. That's what. This says 988.
Yeah, it's got 10 properties different than what's on the sheet.
Yeah.
You got it.
988. Or, okay.
Okay, here's our initial tally. It looks like definitely A1 or A2 seems to be the way that we're leaning. We had 1B, and remind me what the B is, Darren?
The one that's on the screen.
Impervious
right now,
area.
going into multiple commercial and multiple industrial.
Yes. That's the impervious
Yeah, B's
surface.
impervious,
Yeah.
which to me.
And then we have 1C, where we go by however the county has designated the parcel. So, I think probably what we need to do right now is have a little discussion on if there is anybody here who has a very strong opinion that they absolutely could not support an A1, an A2, or B, or a C. And the reason we want to do that is we're hoping to achieve consensus, a consensus agreement tonight. And consensus is not a majority vote. A consensus is that everybody on the committee will leave agreeing to support A1, A2, B, or C. And if there's any reason why they cannot support one of these, we have to hear it now. Because the last thing we want to happen is for the committee to vote and say, all right, we're picking A2, it has 5 votes, that's the most votes, and walk out of here, and then those individuals who picked B or C would potentially go out to the community and start sabotaging the choice. So the goal is to achieve consensus, and it's what we feel we can leave here and support in good conscience. Is there any question about what consensus is?
No.
Okay. So I think just to make this easy, we'll divide up into 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We have an extra one. Why don't we just do the tables? Why don't you huddle at your table, have a discussion, I'll give you about 5 minutes, and what I would like you to come up with is if there's anyone in the group, or multiple members of the group, that there's a solution they absolutely feel they cannot support. Now, you can answer by saying, we can support whatever the group is gonna do, or you can say, I can support everything except A1, or I could support everything except C. But the group needs to decide, as a group, is there any no-goes? I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes.
You want to go or you want me?
The only one I won't support is B. No, just for the pure fact of what it costs General Mills and a couple other people, that's outlandish price.
On the
B is the only one I won't
I
support.
think I voted for A1, but I could go A1 or A2.
can't go with C.
Just our group is on this.
Yeah, if there's no go, you can say none.
Or say which one-on-ones, it could be more than one. More than one that's in there.
Okay, the only problem you had was,
Difference from residential for B.
Yeah, I just consider General Mills as a multi-million-dollar payroll sitting there. And you want to charge them hundreds of thousands of dollars for impervious water, and I think
yeah,
it's not the right way to treat them.
at a reduced.
Yes, there's other people besides him, but I'm just pointing him out because he's there. I mean, Rod's is tremendous out there on these farms.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost
I
him.
think so too.
When you're adding $50,000, $200,000 a year.
This is our group's
Well, maybe.
hard line, if you can't support, if there's one or more that you can support at all.
I mean, to me, we are
And
at
then we'll
A1 and A2 at a reduced rate. We could go with either one of those if the rate was lower.
I can even do it for his area, right, it's lower. See, I talked about it for his area.
Yeah, it does me too, but on that part, you know,
I think
I'm not in favor of it, but it's not that I would count it down, but what it would do to
There's,
other people.
there's no most
Yeah.
500, and that's so misleading to say, it's $38.22 for 500. Nobody's gonna be at that. They're not gonna,
The thing with
you said 38.32.
Yeah, A1, A2 is easy for me, and I can even do the tax.
Gravel,
as far as-
I don't like that.
Okay, there's that. Okay, but see, here's the thing, you're gonna tell
Yeah, but
impervious area, roof area. Okay, well, we have two roofs. We got a house.
I have 5.
That's 950 square feet.
my favorite
And I have a
too.
garage.
Yeah, and a
Yes,
sidewalk.
I have,
And I think if we go there, we can break them three numbers down, and that small commercial could pay less.
You have a sidewalk in front.
my actual.
Yes.
But then,
Yeah.
see, runoff impacting the sewers.
Yeah,
So that is the most logical, tangible measure.
That's my,
So how do you should
yeah, so that's why I just think it's more fair to say it's this amount,
yeah.
Yeah.
this rate.
I think it,
Pretty well.
especially.
A2 is my favorite, you know, of the bunch.
Flat rate, this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah, nobody needs to come measure your house.
Right, they're calculating stuff.
Yeah, the one I cannot live with would be
You know, they're not gonna trust that. They really aren't.
And they're gonna have a hard time.
They're not gonna multiply, and then they're gonna be in shock when it's not $38.
Right, so we, hard no, we agree, hard no is impervious area.
Yeah.
B, that's
They
B.
don't have industrial.
B.
I mean, it'd be if they did decided to go with C, you'd have to go in and
Yes.
word it, said, commercial and industrial would come under this, just to flat that. If they ever put industrial in,
I mean, it's the same for residential A1 and A2, but then it
that you could
goes,
go ahead and do that. I
Yeah.
mean, put it in the language.
yeah.
No, I think
Yeah,
these are one I
by
can't take.
charging a
I
little
mean,
more from the more.
I think
I
the
think
others
so.
could be adjusted if it had to. These are one I.
What if, can we live with C, or they should go C?
We're writing down the one we can't.
Yeah, and, if you'll have a spokesperson who can just explain it to the group why.
Okay, A1 and A2 with rate consistent, different rate.
Explain to the group.
Maybe we can hire another one.
Yeah, I don't,
Shall we say A2?
You get a notepad when you leave.
What am I supposed to do with the notepad, ma'am?
Well, that's a hard no.
Oh, just, if
Let's see,
there's
you just
any
want the hard
support
no on this
we
one?
need
But I
a.
agree, though.
Are we gonna talk to it or write it
Do
down?
you just want hard no
Write
on
it
this?
down.
Gotcha.
You just want a hard no on this paper right now, a hard no is what you want us to tell.
Okay, hang on to that.
Okay.
We need a spokesperson to explain it.
Okay.
You come up with different figures.
With different rates, yeah, I think.
All right,
Like we lower the rate.
are we ready?
On the this year before that she's saying that building downtown. She's like,
We're there.
Are you the spokesperson? Okay, if we can have the attention here, this group here of fine gentlemen have come up. They have a option that they feel they cannot support, which is,
Number B, the impervious water.
okay, so B, and what were the major concerns in your group? Why was, B?
Because of the unfairness of it for large industry, for large properties.
Unfair to large
Yes,
properties,
to industrial especially.
industrial. And the others, you felt that you could support A1, A2,
With
RC.
modifications, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I mean,
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
There's always gonna be a plan B.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, would you ladies like to tell us, were there any that you just felt you couldn't support?
Well,
did
we
the
are a
same thing
hard
we
no
did.
on B.
impervious area. My concern is the difficulty of getting the voters to understand what impervious area is, how to calculate it, why a gravel driveway counts as impervious area. There's just too many technicalities.
Vagueness.
Yeah, questions and, no, you're good, we're fine.
Perfect.
All right, your group here, did you have any that you absolutely could not support?
B as well,
B as well.
for all the above, plus I would say also, for even future growth. With impervious, when you're looking at industries coming in, wanting to set up shop here, that would probably be a negative.
I agree.
Okay. Good, so we have eliminated B. Is there anybody here who feels like eliminating B is not a good idea? And you don't get a vote,
He's
Stephanie.
not on the committee.
Do we allow opinions?
No.
We don't allow opinions? I mean, I think you should be able to state his opinion.
All right, Stephen, can you be civil? I know Stephen for some years.
Talking to the microphone.
Here's Steph.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just flabbergasted. I don't know how else to say it. B is patently far and above the most fair option. It's used by over 90% of the country. All the other options have my constituents on Chestnut and Hope paying the same amount of money as people who live in River Point and Orchard Point. And that's just not fair.
Okay. So he feels like there's a fairness issue, which we may or may not address when we talk about some of the modifications on the others. Now, does anyone else have any other comments they'd like to make before we do another quick tally and see where we're at? We're going to cross out B. B is no longer a consideration. We are going to consider 1A, 1B, and C are your options. So just write that down.
A2 and C.
Did I not say that?
We've got a recording.
In my mind, that's what I said. So, your choices are A1, A2, and C.
So
We're
what
gonna
are we
leave this
eliminating?
here for right now.
Which one do you want to eliminate?
Yep, right down here. Did you lay the map? Yeah, they're,
And do the same thing when you've got it done, put it in front. Is this yours? I'll just put it in front of your thing so I can see. Did you throw it?
No, I get the sign.
Clarify again now what you
Is
want.
this yours?
Yes.
So we're voting again, or are we eliminating?
What are we getting?
Yeah, you're voting again, except you're not allowed to do B.
Okay, so we're voting
Oh,
for.
not
A1,
eliminating?
A2, or C. We're just gonna see how close we are
Voting.
now.
Voting for.
Oh, voting for?
Voting for.
Okay.
Voting for it, thumbs up. If you need to change it, feel free to do it.
I had both of them made out, so.
Change direction.
Yeah, elimination again. I guess it kind of gets you to the same spot.
Are you stuffing the ballot? Do you have to?
Not a bad idea.
Oh, you are stuffing it too. I see what's.
See how the numbers add up.
Nice try, Jay. I thought about that too. But I have the same color, and I have to go to another pad.
Someone almost lost their vote here. All righty. It's interesting. So A2 is the strong favorite. And C has picked up some votes since our discussion. Probably what we need to find out at this point, since there seems to be a majority that feels comfortable with A2. My question is A2 as written comfortable for those who voted for A2, or A2 with modifications? Someone had talked about modifications.
A2 with modifications.
So A2 with modifications there. A2 with modifications, any others? Would either the A1 or the C feel comfortable with A2 if there was modifications? Or is there just a strong feeling that
No, I voted for C, but I could go with A2.
with some modifications?
Yes.
I voted for C with the idea that we need to make sure that we're including in our ballot language industrial in the event that something should change on a county basis, because we don't want to lose that revenue.
Sure.
It's not that I'm against General Mills, I'm not against Walmart or Waltlow, but at the same time, that's a petition that could happen, and somewhere in the process, that money's gone.
In the near future, I don't see the classifications from the county changing though. Rawls County follows the exact same residential, commercial, and ag land classification. For whatever reason, they've just never had industrial.
But Jay's a smart guy, he can talk to his people, and they could very easily go back into the county, and maybe it won't happen for 3 years.
Oh, I agree.
But I don't want to be in the middle of this stream, and all of a sudden, my canoe has got a hole in it.
A simple statement like you suggested that basically just says that if there is a new industrial
Yes.
or a new parcel classification or zoning, that it stays at the current approved rate. So if I'm zoned commercial today, I'm sorry, if I'm zoned industrial as far as my billing record is concerned, however, the parcel is classified as commercial, the county changes their mind and changes my parcel classification to industrial, since we don't technically have wording for that. If it were set to say whatever you were classified at the time of this going into effect, it's the same rate that you would stay at moving forward until there's a change in a vote or anything like that. Basically, it's whatever you're locked in at.
Okay, so that annual review of properties and so forth is not affecting this. Because Darren talked about the fact that, every year we're going to reassess what those properties are, and the classification could change.
That was for the meters.
Okay, that was just for me, okay.
And that was specifically for impervious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Impervious
Okay.
surface was going to be recalculated.
I just don't want to lose the industrial complexes because of something happened legally that changes in the county.
Alex, is that an easy thing to handle?
Yeah, we could do that.
Well, you say that louder, please.
I think there's a few ways to handle that in the ballot language, but it wouldn't, or within the ordinance. We'll see if we need to do it within the actual ballot language. But we can lock them in where they're not going to be able to change over time. I don't see that as a problem.
Okay.
Okay, but we have spent quite a bit of time discussing C. There's one person that would change to an A2 if we modified the A2 a little bit.
And I said I would change.
You would
with
change.
modification, yeah,
With
because of my
modification.
concerns.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna get to,
Who's the whole?
where you're going to discuss what the modifications are. Do you wanna stay in your same group, or do you wanna be mixed up?
We're already mixed up.
Yeah.
We're
We know
already
each other.
confused.
We'll have to do some math here.
All right,
So address
then I'm going to
concern.
give you
Why
the
can't you not
small
do a small,
flip
medium,
charts
large
so
for
that you
residential?
can start preparing your presentation.
The other thought is, what do we say?
And I think Tom should do it on this group here. Are you a good presenter?
No. I give my own opinion.
Each group is going to discuss what they think the modifications to A2 should be. So the only thing we're discussing right now is A2 and what modifications they need to be fully supportive, so that everyone in your group would be fully supportive of A2. And then we're going to have you present it to us.
I don't think there's a spread between people like you said, 2,000.
So, is there a small, medium, large?
My, what part of this you'd like to modify?
I'm gonna leave you.
Okay, the part that I like to modify is the commercial. I think the residential
and the industrial is okay. I mean, you could raise the industrial, but like they got 7 meters, so they're gonna pay multiple meters on that. I was looking at dropping the small commercial to like $70, 75.
Yeah, that's what I had looked at.
If you want big paper to put down your modification.
Yeah, what are we at? We're at 3. Huh?
I think more smaller, maybe 0 to 3,000.
3.9. So you're at what? 3.
So we know how many.
That's so you can share your ideas at the end.
Find a number that gets down to there, and it gives you a small business downtown.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was considering this 0 to 600 to a $75 instead of 140. That's just drop it down, and that's the margin that'll pick up all them small businesses down there, I think.
0 to 6,000.
Yeah, I'll go to 75.
The other question I have is the difference between what the rating would be for usable in terms of getting.
It's a big number though when you look at
On this chart, they don't do demand. Okay, but they're either listed as commercial or not commercial, and it'd be up to them to change it from commercial to residential. And I don't know why anybody would have their apartment as commercial.
Expand that number on H, please.
Unless they're selling something out of it or they're doing it for tax break.
And remember, you can call any subject matter expert to your group.
So 3.2 is what.
But she makes a modification, that's 3.2.
Yeah.
That was the other thing.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Concern about A2 is making sure, as we talked a while ago, making sure that the commercial areas stay commercial.
No, that's probably a total percentage of dollars. Is that not total percentage of dollars? 1 to 33, 33 to 66.
And obviously the county is basically looking at this group for
Yep.
agency. There needs to be some kind of, I guess it's all about.
That gets you to 3.2. 19.2. 18.2.
Do a subcategory of about, what'd you say, half?
Yeah, I mean, right now, you got the commercial.
They took it off.
Commercial broken into 3 different classes.
That one.
Is there a way that they can break that 998 down and tell us where the breaks down? Where that
Oh, yeah, they
break would
could
be?
easily do that.
Find out where the break would be. We're suggesting somewhere in
I don't know if they can do it.
to see where it actually falls.
Yeah, that, taking that to $75, you'll lose about 800,000 on that first branch. So that 0 to 600, if we take it from 140 to 70, 75, it takes it down from 1,600,000 to about 890,000.
I would go either way. I would look at
Possibly, probably.
All right, you gotta be careful here. So, take a look at this real quick.
Okay,
split that difference.
then split it down to 75 or something.
Yeah, 0 to 6,000, maybe.
Take the number of meters going to.
I don't know if they can give us that information now without. Probably not without a certain person being here. I don't think they can.
Right, but can you?
Because there's one person that takes care of all that part.
So come back to this.
I mean, I don't know if they can do it right now for
This is
us.
based on that usage.
Yeah, easily, they can do it easily, this week, but I'm just saying,
If you want, you can
That would
expand
be
it.
Can residential be broken down into small, medium, and large?
You can, then you
down
do
in
that.
the
Let's do that.
classification
You guys keep working with
to a
this.
smaller number.
If you look at commercial,
But then we also,
that's broken into 3 sizes.
we also also need to see what the,
We'll work on
Ted just mentioned.
breaking the residential.
If you drop that,
That's-
make another
That's, to me,
subcategory.
that's a major selling.
What's the impact?
That gets what he's
Since you drop that down to $75 for a smoke for
Yeah, if you drop the whole 0 to 6,000 kW to 75, it'll be about $800,000 drop in revenue.
800,000.
Yes. 890 is what you would collect, and there's 1660 up there.
They have somewhere.
Usually, yes. I mean,
So does that mean that the whatever that breakout is, whether it's 3,000, 3,500, or whatever, up to 6,000, that's gonna have to be at a different rate then?
if you break another category in there, you'd have to,
We'd have
then,
to pick up the other 800,000 we're losing, right?
yeah.
Because otherwise, because that's a question the group's gonna ask, is how are we gonna make it 800,000?
Right.
Over 5 years. How do you feel about the residential rate? 192. It's very reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Could it be higher?
basically all of the.
Well, as a household of two with 2 retirees, no, that's $200 a month.
Well, we'll just look at those numbers. We can-
It's actually we're dropping out like $400. That's
Yeah.
a 50% increase.
Yeah. Which saves you.
See, even at this 192, I'll have to pay 2 of those, because I got a vacant lot. I bought a drug place out and tore it down just to get them away from me, so, but I'll have to pay 2 of them $192 ones.
Well, I think 192 is pretty reasonable.
It's,
Persuade people to vote for it. I can absorb that $200 without going back and forth.
which I know they're probably not gonna do here. I wish this to be put on our utility bill and paid by the month, so we could break it down into 12 payments instead of one large one at the end of the year. Yeah. Yeah, that's, yeah, I know,
You were in the early meetings when we talked about it.
yes, I know,
It's gonna come annually, and that's it. You gotta save money for it.
yeah. I think it'd be a lot easier for people to take 5 monthly
You see people coming
per
to
month.
car dealerships because they got the monthly payment. Not because it's $45,000.
I think it'd be
Okay,
easier
I
to
have
sell
a
them to the,
question for the groups. For all of the groups, we're talking about modifying A2, which is the flat tax by electric meter, classification small, medium, and large. And Darren has just added the residential on there. So a small residential would be $168 a year or $14 a month tax. On a guesstimate, these are all guesstimates, because we don't know what people's electrical meter usage is going to be, right?
So that small, medium, large is based on electrical usage?
No, not at all. That's just, I just grabbed it, right now, I just divided it by thirds.
That's what it will be.
But
based
that's
on.
the thought is
Yes, that's
based
the
upon
thought.
usage.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right, it scared me there for a minute, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
this is a guesstimate. This is, what we're trying to do in this comparison chart is just the best guess. Is that correct, Darren?
Absolutely. So
Do you want to explain that to us?
this, all I've done is taken the 7,400 plus meters, divided it by 3. That's for an example. If you were to tell me, as a group, you want to tell me that someone that has a home that is 1,200 square feet or less, that's the one you want supposed to be in the small. You give me an area we can do our best guess where that falls in, but this.
you,
You're gonna do it on consumption and not square footage.
Well, but we're gonna have to be able to compute, so where do we get that consumption? We're gonna pick 3 homes off of.
that will be extremely confusing.
So
You go
will this be
usage on one
regardless-
and square footage on another?
That's right, so this is where we go back to that idea of being as equitable as you can and not gerrymandering. I'm gonna use that
Yeah.
word, sorry to throw that out there.
Yeah.
We're now picking winners and losers on that. And so, say that out loud.
You can break the electrical usage up, maybe the middle, medium would be your average electrical consumption, and then a certain percentage would be your, or below, say a 20% band in the middle, and then below that would be your small, or above it would be your large. Kind of like you've done with some of your other.
But you as a committee, you tell us, because that's where, here's all your residential. Do you think most of them are in that small, and then there's a few that are medium and there's a few that are large? What do you think? That's what that percent, and we can move that. The other question is, what are you gonna pay for, what do we wanna charge per month or per year to the small, to the medium, to the large?
I think the concern that I'm hearing is that they think the 192 for the smaller homes is a little bit too high for them.
Okay.
Yeah, like change the 14 to 12.
Because that's what I was thinking, 12, 16, 20.
We came up with it.
Yeah, and put 4 between each.
Can we do that, and just kind of, see if we could bring it? We recently sold our theater and house that was attached to it, and, moved into a storefront on Broadway that we renovated, and we've cut our electrical usage by 1/3. So there's vast differences between how much electrical usage you use in different spaces.
I mean, depending on what the square footage.
And so again, we can look
Or
at,
the
so I'm just
usage,
saying,
yeah,
is
the
there
usage.
a way of kind of comparing and getting to where we're really to those smaller and the people that need the break? Those people that need the break are in the houses that are the worst, that use the most electricity.
Not necessarily,
And
because
so
most
it's,
of them have gas stoves.
so that question of equity,
Well, if you're an apartment, it's gonna be a lot less than if you were like what we were doing, had an electrical meter for a house, a theater, a frame shop, everything, so.
and I don't mind, that's the assumption. But again, are we saying a third of them, the bottom third need to have the break? The upper third pay the most, the middle, and that's fine. But that's what we're doing, we've just divided it by a third.
And the question
Okay.
is, can you do that
We can, that's
by,
actually,
by usage? Not by square footage?
we would do it by usage. So
Okay.
what I would do, we can print out a list that goes by usage, top to bottom, from the zeros up to the highest residential use. We'll take and we'll figure out exactly the number they are. This is on June 1 or July 1. And we're gonna say this top third, you're the small, the middle, that's medium, the next, you're large, done.
So what happens a year from now and somebody put doubles the size of their same house?
We're still looking,
It would change next July 1.
next July 1.
So you
Catch up.
calibrate who's in small, medium, or large every year.
We're gonna simply go off of the year's usage. And then we're gonna put it, and you're gonna use the mode, top third.
I think our group could probably go, our group would like to see you break down the, commercial, low-end commercial to a lower rate.
Say that again, Bill.
The commercial rate at the lower end, where it's 140,
So you wanna reduce?
reduce that. Our main concern there is to drop that down, like, commercial from 0 to 3,000 would be a lower next rate. Put another bracket in there and
Add
put
an
them,
additional bracket?
additional bracket.
Well, 4 brackets in there?
Another level.
You have 1,000 commercial businesses listed in that line. Break that in half. Where's the numbers break to add one more classification?
Okay, I'm gonna split 0 to 3.
Okay, I've got a question while Darren's doing that. This group here, your modification was make the small 12, is that 12,
He did.
16, and 20? That was your recommendation? Was that your recommendation as well? And then this is adjusting the commercial, the 1,000 or close to 1,000 people we have, break that down into 0 to 3,000, and then I guess 3,001 to 6,000.
What's that for 488 or 988? 450 and
494.
494.
thank you.
Just going on the assumption it's 50-50 on that right now?
That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
We also talked about adjusting that rate
Okay.
from 140 to 75, right, Bill?
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood.
75, 80, whatever is palatable.
Okay. I can't see well enough. I got all included.
Yeah, it was.
F-18, yep, you got them.
Under 0 to 6,000, you need to change that 0 to 3,001. Enter.
Okay, so that was your recommendation then.
Yeah.
So that covers your recommendation, that covers your recommendation. Your recommendation was covered.
Yeah.
Were there any other recommendations that needed to be recommended for the A2 solution?
I haven't got that far into it yet.
Well, the question we had in our group as an amendment to that was, we knew that that was going to reduce our dollar amounts by about 800,000. And so the question from our group to the whole group was, did you have any suggestions on how we can adjust the others to make up?
I'm not worried about making it up.
Okay. Well, we started out at 4.7 million and now we're down to 3.5.
No, it
We're
wasn't.
down
It
to.
was.
wasn't ever 4.7. There was more wrong
Okay.
on that spreadsheet than
Okay.
that first one. Yeah,
It's now down to 2.7.
Yeah. So, do we need some further adjustments here?
We debated on that $75 and where that number ought to be. I would say that could be anywhere from, say, 75 to 100. Just a little smaller amount on that three.
Can we see what 85 looks like, Darren? Yeah. Does that, it just brings it to 2.8.
Yeah, number, yeah. $10 got another 100,000.
To 100, then it's 40, 40, 40, 40 between all three.
So it's 2.8 there. There's commercial, there's 8 of them only. But what if you bumped up the commercial just a little bit? Would that bring us back up to our 3?
Only 8 of them, won't do a whole lot, but we'll do it. What do you want to go to? 240, 250?
I'd leave it there because you're 40, 40, and 40 apart.
There's not much money to be gained there, you know,
No,
you got
just
21,000.
with 8 accounts, you're not gonna gain anything to speak of.
Not on $30.
Just piss off some people.
Look at your industrial and go 420 and 570.
420?
Yep.
Again, keep in mind though that number is going to fluctuate depending on yearly usage, if you're basing it off of that. So those numbers can bounce back and forth every year.
So this is just, and did we change that, the bottom one, what did you say,
570.
570? So it's darn close to 3 million, it's not quite there. And we're guessing, which means that there's a margin of error that we could fall significantly short, or we might, bring in more money, depending on what actual usage is. Darren, what are your thoughts? Is that something you can live with? You're a little bit shy of the 3 million. Is that what you're targeting?
Definitely
Oh, 3.5. So,
What about increasing the commercial $10 per month on each one? 110, 150, 190, 230.
okay, this gentleman here, Derwin, suggests adding 10 per month to each one of these. So 110, 150.
To each commercial.
What was it that you'd had before?
And you need to increase your target at 4 million. Now you're at 3. What you're doing is extending for construction time. And
I will-
that's maybe 20%.
So I'm gonna come, so having consulted with my board member, recognize, like I tell my wife, I can do anything in that house. It just takes time and money. If you have less money, it takes more time. And so I think this is if this is something, so here comes back to my question of, is this passable?
Well, that's the third part of the equation.
We haven't decided this is
I'm
it
sorry,
yet.
I'm sorry.
Well, but there's three parts to his equation. There's time and money, but there's also permission.
Correct.
We've got to get the citizens to allow us to do this regardless of what it is. So time and money,
So
we can
commercial
figure
get
that.
votes?
It's whether we get the
So I will
permission.
tell
Commercial
you right
doesn't
now,
vote, do they?
I have at least
Industry
25% of my board
No,
has said
I mean,
that I can.
what owners are
will
here,
accept the
I mean,
$2
are
million.
voters. They just get one
But
vote.
you're not gonna have you're not gonna have a Lowe's, a Walmart, or anything like that voting, so.
No.
Right.
But you'll
The
have
majority
the
of-
owners of the local businesses.
The majority of your votes are at the lower end, residential. That's your 8,000 customers and up to 16,000 votes. That's where it's all at.
I'm going to tell you right now, having worked for Walmart for 3 years, their store meetings every morning will talk negative if it's going to impact that business negatively. They will speak to their employees who do the voting. So we've got to be, I'm not saying that we have to be scared of them, but it's just a reality.
We need to get good
The
messaging.
business doesn't get the vote, but those employees will, and their managers will influence.
Yeah, your job is to talk to them.
Exactly.
So can we
Okay.
talk to the employees?
No. No. Because they'll think you're trying to unionize them, and that's against their laws.
I'm gonna go around to each group, and if you need a minute to talk among yourselves, and just ask if this solution is something that you could support moving forward from this. Now that we have kind of gotten down to A2 as the preference, and we've given several modifications. Group 1, do you need to talk about it, or is this something you can support?
I think we're good with it.
Okay, Group 1. Group 2,
Okay, you good with it?
can you support?
I'm in.
What's your concern, Michelle?
I just have fun. It's fine. You're not gonna get 100% approval, so go ahead.
Well, we're talking about consensus. We're just hoping of all the solutions we've been able to come up with. Is this something you could be supportive of?
Not sure yet.
All right, Group 3, what are your thoughts? We have a holdout there.
We're all for it.
You're all for it there. Is there any change you can see right off the bat, Michelle, that you could be supportive of?
We discussed about the non-metered.
Yeah, the
Empty
problem
lots.
is there's so many issues, there's so many different scenarios, and the more classifications you get, the more exceptions you make, the more of a nightmare it becomes. It costs you more to even do it. I don't know. I know there's a non-metered isn't originally probably intended
for people who live within the city but have a meter with Rawls County. Is that what I'm assuming you assumed it was?
Yes.
Sorry, Michelle, did these ask, you were asking about Rolls County?
Well, I'm just curious what you meant by non-metered, because there's a difference between people who live within the city and use somebody else's meter as opposed to somebody that's just got a lot that according to the city, they can't even build on. So basically you mow it and pay taxes. Doesn't have a meter, but in theory, it could cost them more than their house if they're a low electric user. So it's just, I don't have the answers. I'm just telling you, it just doesn't sit right. And I know that you have a goal. I know you have a certain dollar amount. I know that you want 4 million or 3.5 million. I don't think you're going to get that out of the voters of Hannibal. And I think some funding is better than, I mean, it can't be all or nothing. Do you want some funding or do you want the voters to say no? That's my opinion. There it is.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. That's very enlightening. Appreciate you sharing it. It's hard when you're the only holdout in a group to share your feelings. Some of the things I think I heard you saying was, it's not fair, but you're not sure how to make it fair. Is that correct?
Yep.
And it would be really hard for us to make it fair for everyone in here. I mean, I'm looking at that and cringing because we've got just a teeny little business, but we live in a storefront, so it's commercial, right? So we're going to have a big add to our taxes with this plan. And I don't think that's fair. But it's not going to be fair, I think. I don't know that our goal can be to make it fair for everybody because it's going to be really hard to take in everybody's distinct and specific needs and make it fair. Like if you were to make it fair for Richard and Patricia.
What you're asking me to do is to sell something to people in the 4th Ward who if they have, say, a small electric use is $144 a year and an empty lot, which is $192 a year, and they're going to pay that every year from now on, which their city tax, just the city portion of their taxes right now is around $300 a year. So now we're back to tripling somebody's taxes. And that's a hard sell in my neighborhood. So I'm just saying.
We have 100 non-metered lots in the city. Is that it?
You have no idea how to gauge that right now. That's just a rough guess.
I own 10 in a 1 block radius.
Non-metered lots?
Correct.
Yeah, and I have one.
That number is going to be gigantically bigger than that.
I got
Two, because they're abandoned, and so you buy them, so you mow them, so they're not overgrown, and you know, my neighbor has abandoned their house next to me. No one has mowed the grass, so I've started mowing a strip this wide to keep the rats and the snakes and the mosquitoes down.
So what if we go to this non-metered and change it from 16 to 12? That's very little change, but
I think what they're saying is the number of meters or parcels or whatever you want to classify that, where it says 100 is going to be a lot greater.
correct. But what I'm saying is, if we charge them at least the minimum, is that closer to fair?
Now, a non-metered lot means it hasn't, how can we even charge for it? Does it use electricity?
So
But it needs stormwater.
In your wording for non-metered, again, you're basing this off of electric meters. So
Yeah.
if I own a lot that I have a water meter on and not electricity, you're not going to bill me for anything. It's going to be a zero. In this instance here, you're going to bill me a minimum of a residential charge just because I have water service or sewer service but not electric.
It can be an
But if you
undeveloped
have
lot.
none of those things,
Correct, yeah, it could be a complete vacant lot as well.
But you're contributing to stormwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
not if there's.
platted lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I thought we were going by electric meters here.
Bob,
Okay.
Bob,
An empty lot does not have electric meter.
There's no electric meter.
Okay.
It's both.
Bob, did you have a comment?
My comment is a little bit different than Michelle's, but the same thing. She lives in Ward 4, I live in Ward 1, where we have lots and lots of big houses, and it's all above the hill and on the other side. The biggest thing I get from my neighbors when we start looking at and start getting into a discussion says, what is this? That's the first thing they're going to find out. The second thing is, the city doesn't do a thing for me for stormwater. And that's a tough, tough sell. When I have the stormwater from Hannibal, LaGrange, and Golden Eagle, and Poland Ford, and everything else running in the ditch behind me, if I ask the city to come out, hey, I need some grading and some riprap put in my ditch, it's not going to happen. So what am I getting for my money? I'm going to fix a piece of pipe by the police station. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to support it, but I'm going to fix a road breakdown by the police station. But when I go to that voting machine, I don't personally see any benefit for me. I have to vote for the city of Hannibal, and that's what I've got to convince myself and everybody
And
else
our
to there.
community, that we're voting for our community,
We're voting for the community. That's my sales pitch.
whether or not it impacts us or not.
Exactly.
Like if we're up at Rockcliffe, right? We're golden, it doesn't matter. If we're downtown, where a lot of the commercial buildings are, then it can really impact. I came out of the theater at Bluff City Theater the other night and could not walk across the street to where my house was, where our apartment. I mean, there's at least this much water in the street.
Downhill.
I mean, it had knocked me over and washed me into the Mississippi, so yeah. All right, well, I'm going to throw out a suggestion here. If somebody has a solution that they can add, I think that's why we spent a little bit of time. We have made several adjustments here. Is there anything else we can do so that 100% of us can walk out and say, this ain't perfect, it's not what I particularly would have wanted, but I can support it in my community?
I mean, the only thing I could suggest is what Michelle's wanting is the smaller homes to be paying less, is to drop that down and just get less money.
The problem is with this method, there's no way to guarantee that the people with smaller homes are using less electric than the people with larger homes. That's the problem.
Larger, newer homes are more efficient and older, smaller, poorer homes. By many multitudes.
Well, that's true, but also, if people have 4, 5, 6,000 square feet, you are going to be using more electricity than if you've got 1,200 square feet.
Would it help if they?
I've lived in a lot of these old buildings, Stephens. Don't give me that stink eye.
Would it help if we dropped the non-metered down even lower?
That's what I was thinking.
Well,
Like
I
the
don't
empty
know,
lots.
because
$5.
my understanding was the non-metered, I thought, was people who lived within the city but wasn't serviced by the Board of Public Works,
That's
so.
some of them.
That's
But-
some of
That's
them.
some of
So-
That's some of them.
There's-
and vacant lots.
There's more vacant lots than there is people living out of the city with non-metered.
What
Way
you
more.
guys are enjoying is rate making.
Yeah.
And it is, the only perfect rate making is if we had 7,857 rates for everybody in the city of Hannibal.
Sure.
And you can't do that. So there's assumptions you have to make.
Okay.
So you feel my pain.
Darren, I have a question for you. This A2 choice, we're not doing by impervious surfaces, which doesn't that save us like a bucket load of money by having, Veach and
Black and Beach do it?
Black and Beach come in every year and measure our,
Let me let Matthew respond to that, because when we talk about complexity of even putting this back into play, what's that gonna take us to do, Matthew?
Me or?
I'm talking Matthew,
Okay.
not Matt, there's Matthew.
So your impervious surface calculation, my guess is that we would do that once every 3 years. So there is a fee associated with that, there's a time frame.
it's every
associated
3
with that.
years, not every year.
I don't know that we could afford to do it every year.
That's not somebody who builds a new house. is
You're
gonna
talking about an aerial.
Correct.
And doing the impervious calculation that way.
Yes.
The thought would be we would use building permits to help catch people in the interim. So to answer Rod's question, if somebody came in and built a 1,500 square foot house and a driveway, whatever,
Or
they would
37
get
apartments.
they would get picked up in the interim building permit process. And then on the triennial or every 5 years, we'd do a flyover with aerial photography that would pick up maybe some people that put some concrete patio or a shed in their backyard that didn't go through the permitting process.
And what I was pitching to Matthew gently, so he could hit it out of the park, was that it's still gonna cost some money, a lot of time to even do this, that it's gonna take a lot of manipulation, to watch, but it's not, none of it is.
So is it a wash between the two?
As far
Processes,
as
costs.
time and labor involved in calculating it all, probably so.
It's a wash in labor, is it a wash in costs too?
No.
No, because I know what I paid the guys here. I know.
Your
Not enough.
Your impervious surface or cost over time is probably going to be pretty close to what the labor is involved over a 5 or 10 year span. But there are some easier ways of doing it depending on, well, you've ruled out some of those methods already, but there are easier ways of making this work as far as a impact or less of an impact on labor internally here.
It's all based on electric usage. Do you not keep track of electric usage?
We do have electric usage, but keep in mind, since the county is going to bill that for us, we're going to have a one-to-one relationship from our billing record for every account related to a specific parcel. So our billing system does not have a parcel management system, a way of recording that information. So we're, just like the Black and Beach study stated, we're going to implement a third-party software application that will extract data from our billing, take data from the county, match all of those up, perform whatever calculation or breakdown that you need in order to produce a file that we then give back to the county in order to produce those bills. So someone's going to have to manage that entire process every year.
What happens when the name of the meter doesn't match up with the name of the property?
We're not going off of name, we're going off of parcel itself. Keep in mind that the bill goes back to the property owner based on what the county has listed.
So then the downtown thing, the way you said to change it from commercial to residential or to unit, how did that sync up with what you just said? Because it seems like
If we're going off of county classification, it would, if we're going off of this method.
so let's just use an upstairs apartment in a downtown building. Until a renter puts it in their own name, it's classified as commercial, correct?
Correct.
But then when they change it to their name, it's classified as residential.
But keep in mind that that's only on the bill. So the customer is going to pay the per meter charge based on their residential, industrial, commercial classification. The landowner or property owner is going to be subject to the stormwater fee.
Oh, so then the upstairs rental units would still be subjected to the commercial fee?
No,
No?
but that tax is going to the owner of the parcel.
Yes.
And all three of those meters,
So they would still be able to
whether
get the
commercial,
residential
commercial,
rate?
commercial, or if they're residential, commercial, that will be added up. That's what the tax is for that parcel. The parcel owner pays that tax.
Correct.
That's gonna be part of the annual review, matching meters to parcel IDs.
Thus, the complexity, putting that into and making sure that comes out correct.
So the renter is still gonna bear part of that cost because the landowner's gonna pass that on.
That's entirely up to the
Whatever,
landowner.
well, obviously, it's gonna be up to the landowner, but it's theoretical. If it was me, it's gonna be passed on. At least a portion of it, if not all of it. So the metering doesn't make any difference what it is, technically, because he's still gonna pay the difference between commercial and residential, because that's what the landowner's charging him.
Yes?
I said I wouldn't talk too much. I'm trying to hold back. Make no mistake, the overhead that we're talking about is going to impact Hannibal Board of Public Works. It's going to impact the county, who's gonna want to be reimbursed. You know, parcel, or item C was the impervious area. Let's get into all the math and the overhead. If you do too much, or B, I'm sorry, you're gonna push it back to where B was. So you have to be very careful when you start all the manipulations, because this guy's got to spend time every day, or someone, working those spreadsheets to make
Are you leaving soon?
to make it work.
5 years, yeah.
Wait a minute, you've got to get kids through college first. But so that's my concern is that we are building some overhead here, and it's subtracting from that $3 million that we can go out there and do stuff with. Trying to make everybody happy is not going to work.
It seems to me like all of the solutions is gonna require more, overhead administrative costs, is that correct? So, there will be some that will cost more, some will be more labor intensive, but it's all gonna be expensive to do this, and we still need to do this anyways. I do think Michelle made a good point when she said, let's come up with a solution that we can get past, even if it's not everything that we hoped for. Perhaps it's something that we can get started with. And do we want it done quickly, right? Do we want it to trickle in? Takes a longer time. So I think all of us understand that difference between time and money on how we can address the immediate concerns and how long it will take us to get all of our major concerns addressed. Darren is frowning, is that correct?
No, you're on target, I'm just playing over, I'm sorry, I'm up here, I'm playing
Oh,
with
he's still
the
playing, okay.
non-metered, what, we go to $8,
Okay.
$96 a year for a non-metered.
So we're still right around 3 million, which is not everything you wanted, Darren, but maybe that gets you started in the right direction. All right, are we at enough modifications
Michelle?
on
is that
A2?
something
Yeah, I think so. Are we still under discussion?
I was just saying, the non-metered, it should be more like 1,000 non-metered lots. We've got way more than 100.
We had 11 right here between two people.
Yeah.
Had 10% of that 100 already just with two people.
It's $100,000, but maybe then pay for the first year of the software.
There you go, okay, there's 1,000 in there.
Yeah. Got you a little more money. It might pay for the software.
I like it.
There's a lot of green space on Hope and Chestnut Street, so I know they're not.
All over town.
I'd say.
based on the south side.
Yeah, all over.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the message that we would have is that all of the property in Hannibal is contributing towards the stormwater solution. And what this group has done is tried to parse it out as equitably as possible, realizing that it can't be 100% fair for 100% of the community. All right, one more vote, you guys. It's 7:45. I had a agenda here. I told Darren I would go into 9:30 before I shut it down, so just so you know.
It's a question. Was that up for a vote too?
Yeah. Well, you could just push me up.
I'm gonna lock the doors.
Just don't get between me and the door, because that isn't safety
Okay,
glasses.
everybody put the vote down on, and we'll we'll see what
What do
we
we
come
vote
up
on?
with.
What do we vote
yea or
on?
nay on what
A2
we got?
modified?
Yeah.
Yeah, A2
Yea or nay?
modified, yeah.
Like this, it's on the board.
Yep, yes.
Yes or no?
Yep, yes or no, Y or N, Y or N.
Okay, okay.
We'll just do a yes or no vote.
Okay. Where is it?
Put it out in front of your everyone.
Got room now. Got plenty of lunch for tomorrow. Carry in on Friday. Yes.
Got it, 100% are on the yes.
Celebration.
Hey.
Now the real work begins. Get a certain time over to Alex Riley real quick. I promise you, I threatened him that he has to go fast.
I can do that, no problem. Okay, so we've talked in prior meetings about sort of what the election process looks like, but just as a reminder for everyone. So as you all know, the city and the Board of Public Works cannot expend any public funds to advocate on behalf of a ballot measure. They can put out information that says, you know, here's what a yes vote would do, here's what a no vote would do, but the city itself couldn't put out signs that say vote yes on Proposition A or things like that. So it will be up to likely a number of the individuals sitting in this room to put together a campaign committee that would actually support the advocacy efforts. So what that looks like is somebody will need to be chosen to be the treasurer of the campaign committee, and then you'll need to set up a bank account that you can start raising funds for. You'll need to file with the Missouri Ethics Commission. That's the entity within the state of Missouri that sort of oversees campaign finance to make sure all the campaigns are on the up and up. And there's a series of forms that will need to be filed to establish your campaign committee. You'll want to pick a name, something somewhat catchy but not too long, and pick your treasurer, get your bank account going, and then start raising funds. Those funds you can then use for signs, for brochures that can be passed out if you raise enough money, for mailers that can be sent out to the community to advocate, letting them know, hey, we think this is important. We would ask for you to vote yes. Here's why. But that, again, the city can't put any money into express advocacy. That will have to be coming from you all as a campaign committee and as individuals. So I'm going to keep it real short, but I will take a couple questions if that's okay with Darren, and if you have more specific questions. But at this point, it would be up to you all to start to work amongst yourselves to develop that campaign committee and go through the necessary steps with the Missouri Ethics Commission to file and to then start raising money and advocating and running a campaign to get voters to support this. Yes, sir.
In can the committee, or should the committee meet in a neutral location?
Yeah, probably.
Required.
It would be best. We wouldn't want to have any sort of situation where someone could argue that the board is expending public dollars in an advocacy attempt. So if you have a campaign committee meetings that were to happen here, someone could argue, well, the board's, you're paying for food or electric or toilet paper or whatever.
That's what Mike Dawson's being investigated for right now. Using public funds for promotional purposes.
Other questions?
Can we rent this room? Well, I understand that.
I think it would be best to find another location. Even if the answer could be legally yes, I suspect Darren would say no.
Well, we're gonna lock his door, so you're not invited.
The next step for us is we have Alex who's gonna help put together the petition language and we're gonna have that to the city by December 1. That way we get, I believe that's
Ask the Marion County Clerk.
Okay, anyways, he's gonna dig, and with this, it'll be out on the board, we're gonna write up the ballot language, we're gonna get it to the city has to approve it through 2 readings, they then get it to the Marion County Rawls, and then we send it to the ballot. So that's what we're gonna do. And again, I thank you very, very much, all of you, for your time. We've had many meetings, and you're worth even more than a dinner. Questions else for Alex? You got it.
Do we have a sample of what we want to start with for our language?
Okay. If you guys don't mind, I'll make a suggestion on that. Ballot language is highly technical, and it would best be written by an individual versus by a committee, because I mean it's a legal document. So, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I figure that's what we're going to go to, but we got to ask that question.
Yeah.
Do we get to
It's a
look
fair
over
question.
this language and make sure it says what we think it says?
It will support what you have approved.
I will share it with you.
Yes.
Yeah, share it.
It's more of a matter of topic than style. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's right.
We will share it.
You've given me a handful, but we will put something together for sure.
And there's no conflict with you because of your affiliation with the board?
Nope, none. Yeah, I can put the ballot language together. That's completely within
Well,
the
the way everybody
purview.
raises objections for a lot of things, you
Yep.
hate to fall over a blade of grass when the log was just 3 feet past you.
Yep.
All right, again, thank you, Alex, thank you to each and every one of you, thank you to Patricia, and thank you for everybody's participation, thank you very much.
So what do we do next as a group?
What's that?
Are we done, or what do we do
If you wanna
next?
talk as a group, you can.
We probably need to set the next meeting, don't we?
Was Andy gonna head this?
She had an emergency. Right. Why she couldn't be here.
Wasn't she gonna be?
She was the chair, we had voted her as chair of the committee.
Yeah, she was the chair of the committee, but she has said from day one that she doesn't have enough time